If you think tapering is just about doing less, think again. Many triathletes unbeknowingly self-sabotage their 70.3 race performance with a poorly executed taper in race week. In this video, I'm going to dive into a few scenarios that you can implement straight away to then be able to execute your next 70.3 with a much better taper. So you arrive at the start line fresh, ready to achieve your goals and have the performance of your life. Let's start with the truth bomb. Tapering is not just about doing less. Personally, when I was racing quite a lot, I got tapers fairly wrong, sometimes bang on right. It's about doing exactly enough in the race week, or certainly the 10 days before, to arrive fresh, but not sluggish in the water. We've all felt that. Just not firing or very tight in the upper body. No power in the legs. Can't understand why you can't push what you did in training. And then a real lackluster, non-springy run. It definitely wasn't your fitness, it was your taper. Mistake number one, complete rest is safe. Athletes think rest is just recovery. This is where we get it wrong. Too much and the fatigue stays high leading into race week. I think we all kind of know that. How much is too much? Too little and it backfires. You just arrive not in a sharp state and mentally fresh, ready to go. So it's not just about resting, it really is reigniting. Just think back to some of your best weekends you've had. I remember a 5-hour ride with some really awesome intervals off that running, and you off the back of a 15-hour week, and you're like, wow, if I can reproduce that in 6 weeks, I'll be really happy with that. Fast forward 6 weeks and you don't feel that same feeling you did in the session you did. Your body's used to what it's used to. If you're used to doing 15 hours a week, tapering to 5 hours is quite a shock. So it's all about context. Tapering is so individual. This is really important to understand. I'll get into a bit more detail. So we need to keep the intensity. The most important thing, and I think most coaches agree with this, it's not just me, is we keep short bursts, race specific. Remember, specificity is crucial the closer we get to a race. So no garbage miles, no junk, no death marches where you go out and do crazy 30-kilometer runs because you saw Gustav Iden doing it a week before in Kona. That's their engine, their training program. Okay, so recovery is not just about resting and doing nothing. It's actually the complete opposite, and it's really bad for you if you do nothing. Now, sometimes you are forced to because of sickness or travel, or you're just feeling absolutely drained because of work and life. Keeping the body moving is the most important thing. If you had to lie in bed or do not much at all for 2 weeks, yes, you would detrain, and it'll take you, for every week you're not doing anything, it takes you pretty much 2 weeks to get back to where you were the previous week. So just remember that if you do absolutely nothing. But sometimes you can surprise yourself on race day, and I've certainly done that and seen people have the performance of their life because they're absolutely mentally and physically super rested. Mistake number two, all tapers should be 2 weeks. Okay, context here again, it depends. Generally speaking, the long events require a little bit more taper. You're probably aware of that. You've heard of 14-day taper, 10-day, even sometimes 7 days. So wrong again, the length of taper depends on pretty much what hole you've been in. If you've been doing excessive amount of volume to overload, which you do need for an Ironman, but not so much for a 70.3. The week before the week of race week is often really good to take reduction of volume complete, and you'll feel terrible. You rather want to feel it in the 2 weeks before than in race week, where you're actually will up the intensity and actually start training pretty hard. Okay, so depending on where your CTL is on Training Peaks, your chronic training load, and then where your fatigue level is in terms of the ATL, the pink one, the pink line. That can help determine how deep you are, and plus also, you know how tired you are, you know your sleep quality. So if you have a big volume athlete with a really consistent base, so years upon years, or if you're a fairly new athlete, the taper might be different. So if you are a big volume athlete, you'll need a longer taper to freshen up. It's just you constantly doing 15 to 20 hours, and that taper might look like a 3-week slow descend, and not just if you're doing 8 to 12 hours, which most regular beginner intermediate 70.3 athletes will probably do 8 to 10 hours quite comfortably, and you're wondering how long you should taper. So this is something that we're going to cover in the next couple of little steps. All right. So a very long taper can make you stale as well. You'll just flatline, and actually you decondition, you lose fitness as well. if you look at your CTL on Training Peaks, when you start to peak, you will just flatten line in your fitness because you can't keep pushing fitness. You've got to start absorbing it. So we've had athletes run better off a 5-day taper than a 2-week taper. It's very specific. So you've got to have some help with this, and you don't always get it right. So why do they do that? Because the taper matched their ability and their circumstances, the reality of what actually has just happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we never design the taper before we're ready. Pretty much in the last 15 to 20 days, we'll know more or less how the consistency has been, how healthy you are, and what fires that athlete up. Confidence, so from really faster than race pace sessions, or a long big bike ride a week out, sometimes builds huge confidence for the athletes. Mistake number 3, cut everything equally. Okay, it's probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make, as in swim, bike, and run. You don't want to just slash everything by 50%. It doesn't work like that. Swim, for example, is mainly a muscular force upper body, so it has less fatigue on the legs, of course, where run is very corrosive and biking is less impact. So you always think about your biggest run week because that's the most corrosive, the most muscle damage, and you want to drastically reduce some of that volume, but keep a little bit of intensity in there to keep the nervous system fired. All right, so not to suddenly just drop everything all at once, volume and intensity. We always reduce the volume slowly and then maintain some intensity certainly during the race week, the 7 days out. Okay, so you cut run volume more aggressively, you keep short, sharp bike intervals, you swim enough, so you keep the frequency up to stay familiar with the feel. So I wouldn't drop your swim mileage terribly. I would just keep swimming up until race day. The bike volume, of course, just fatigues you, but you'll do some really hard efforts through there. And then the run volume, you're not going to gain anything for the last 2 weeks. I would just maintain 50 to 60% of your load of the run and stay sharp and keep that volume out because it's so fatiguing. So how do we do it inside aisle? Coaching philosophy, our team, our squad. So 2 weeks out, if it's a standard taper, let's say 14 days out, 14 to 7 days out, we'll reduce the volume 20 to 30%, again, depending on those contextual factors I just mentioned. Your key sessions stay sharp. We include race pace intervals all the way through that second last week. We avoid that junk mileage. I'd rather just have the athlete rest and just take confidence in their last 6 to 8 weeks and avoid panic training. We all get close to the event and we do this panic training because we just feel we haven't done enough, okay? You're just building fatigue and you're gonna arrive overcooked, and I'd rather you arrive undertrained than overcooked. Right, race week. Now this is where you've built up and sometimes you might have been here before, you get sick. Monday, Tuesday, you wake up with sore throat and fatigue because you've started letting the body recover, okay? Unfortunately, sport is like this. The human body is so complex. As I record this, I'm assisting an elite runner that I don't coach, but on the fueling side and consulting. And he has been doing 90 kilometers a week for Comrades Marathon, and he's woken up with throat, flu. He's never had a day off for 4 years from work. And now he's obviously in a bit of that's 8 months he spent training, and he is going for a very fast time. We've got his fueling strategy, etc., nailed in, and he just has to rest and sleep. So race week will reduce volume 30 to 40%, no mega long sessions, 1 full race day, potentially 2, but I would avoid 2, even if it's just an easy swim, because that isn't actually a rest day. You want to keep active because your body will then go into the shutdown, and actually that's when we do get sick. You'll see your fitness line start to plateau, and if anything drop down, don't panic. That's normal. You'll hold a bit of fluid as well. We want the body weight to actually be a little bit higher going into the race because then you've got stores. And here's the clincher. The day before the race, there's different strategies, but I would always try and do a swim, bike, run, really short, and include some 70.3 efforts in there to then awaken the body and tell it what it's going to do the next day. Training got you fit, but the taper really gets you ready. So if you're still guessing and still feeling flat on race day, maybe you've done only 2 half Ironmans to date, you're still learning. It's time to stop Googling the generic plans, and you need to speak to a coach. So if you want to book just a free call, we've helped dozens of athletes qualify for Worlds, Sprint, Olympic, half Ironman, full Ironman World Championships by training smart, but also tapering really specific to their individual needs. So click on the link description and feel free to reach out. Got a nice little team and we can help you nail your next 70.3.